For almost half a century, one name has pretty much defined the entire giant robot genre, Gundam. It's way more than just a cartoon. It's a cultural force, a multi-billion-dollar empire, and this massive sci-fi saga. So let's dive in and figure out how a story about giant fighting robots managed to change, well, everything. But here's the wild part. This absolute titan of pop culture, it started out as a total flop. Seriously, the original show, Mobile Suit Gundam, hit the airwaves in 1979 and nobody watched. The ratings were terrible, the toy sales were even worse, and its sponsor pulled the plug. The show got cut short and canceled. It was a complete write-off, dead on arrival. So how do you get from a canceled show to this? That number is Gundam's annual revenue for 2024. That's over $1 billion. So yeah, from near extinction to a global empire. To understand that incredible comeback, you first have to get what made Gundam so special in the first place.
Right, so Gundam's success was no accident. It was all built on one single revolutionary idea that completely flipped an entire genre on its head.
Before 1979, giant robot anime was all about super robots. You know the type, invincible machines with basically magical powers, piloted by screaming heroes fighting rubber suit aliens. Gundam just threw that entire playbook out the window. The robots, or mobile suits, weren't special. They were mass-produced weapons of war. They ran out of ammo, they broke down, they needed repairs. They were just tools in a very human, very messy conflict.
And just like that, a new genre was born, the real robot genre. And Gundam wrote the rules. For the very first time, the show wasn't really about the awesome machine. It was about the kid in the cockpit, a teenager dealing with the horrors and the complex politics of war. It was basically a grounded military sci-fi drama that just happened to have giant robots. And nobody had ever seen anything like it.
You know, to put it into perspective for people who might not know, its cultural impact in Japan is often compared to what Star Wars did here in the States. It wasn't just another cartoon. It was a landmark moment that proved animation could tell serious, complex, adult stories. But that whole cultural revolution, it almost didn't happen. The story of how Gundam survived is honestly just as dramatic as anything you'll see in the show. So picture this. It's early 1980. The show is off the air. It's over. But then, a toy company named Bandai does something interesting. They release a line of plastic model kits of the robots from the show. And these kits, they were a smash hit. That success created this huge new demand, which led to TV reruns, which found a whole new, older audience. And that led to compilation films that became massive box office hits. The entire franchise was literally saved by its own merchandise. And this is so crucial. Gunpla, which is short for Gundam Plastic Models, became the economic engine of the whole franchise. See, these weren't simple action figures. They were really detailed, intricate kits that appealed to serious hobbyists. This created a rock-solid revenue stream that had nothing to do with TV ratings. It's a business model that still powers the franchise today, and it basically owns 90% of the character model market in Japan.
Okay, so Gundam is back from the dead, and it's a success. Now it has a completely new problem. How do you keep a story going for decades without it becoming this giant, tangled mess that scares off anyone new?
I mean, it's a huge issue for any big franchise, right? If you tell a potential new fan they have to watch hundreds and hundreds of episodes just to catch up, they're just going to walk away. Your audience can't grow. Gundam's solution to this problem was so simple, but honestly, it was brilliant. They split the whole thing in two. First, you have the Universal Century, or UC. That's the original timeline, the main story that started in '79. It's this deep, sprawling saga for the dedicated fans. But then, they started making alternate universes, or AUs. And these are the game changer. They're totally standalone stories. New world, new characters, new conflict. You don't need to know a single thing about the past 45 years to jump right in. It's the perfect front door to the franchise.
And this whole AU strategy is exactly how Gundam finally blew up outside of Japan. Gundam Wing, which was an alternate universe series, landed on Cartoon Network's Toonami block and became an absolute sensation. For a whole generation of us in the West, this was our first Gundam, and we didn't need any homework to get into it. So you fast forward to today, and they've taken that basic idea and just supercharged it. Now it's this incredibly sophisticated, multi-platform machine that's designed to hit every possible demographic everywhere.
Their approach now is almost surgical. You want to bring in new and younger fans? Great. Here's a fresh show like The Witch from Mercury on broadcast TV and YouTube. What about the hardcore legacy fans? Okay, here are these huge high-budget movie epics like Hathaway on Netflix. They're even making shows for a global audience on Netflix and VR experiences for the tech crowd. There is a Gundam for everyone on every platform.
And it goes way, way beyond just what's on a screen now. They have built multiple life-sized 60-foot-tall Gundam statues in Asia, and one of them actually moves. They're massive tourist attractions. You add in global pop-up tours and a Hollywood live-action movie that's in the works, and you realize Gundam isn't just a show anymore. It's a global brand experience.
So after 45 years, what's the ultimate secret sauce? How has this thing not just survived, but actually continued to thrive? Well, it all comes down to this perfectly designed ecosystem they've built. Here it is, the perfect feedback loop. It's genius. The anime gets you emotionally invested in the stories and the robots. That interest makes you go out and buy the Gunpla model kits. The massive profits from those Gunpla sales then provide the money to fund the next, even more ambitious anime project. And the whole thing is supported by video games and comics that keep everyone engaged in between. Each piece feeds the other in a perfect circle. And the sheer scale of that Gunpla engine is just mind-boggling. By 2022, they had shipped over 700 million of these kits. That is the financial bedrock that allows the creative side to take huge risks and tell these amazing, complex stories.
But look, a brilliant business model only gets you so far. The real reason Gundam endures is that the ideas at its core are just timeless. It's always been about the human cost of war. It's always been about political drama and about how technology shapes our future. It treats its audience like they're smart, and those mature ideas hit just as hard today as they did all the way back in 1979.
From a canceled TV show to a cultural phenomenon, Gundam has survived by never, ever standing still. It reinvented a genre, it built a one-of-a-kind business, and it told a story that speaks to generation after generation. The only real question now is, after 45 years of constant change, what's it going to become next?